Zach, congratulations on being named one of Wisden's 5 cricketers of the year. As we speak now, midway through the Test series in India, you're still sworn to secrecy about the fact that you've won. Has it been difficult to keep it under wraps over the last month or so?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a massive honour, and I'm extremely excited about being named one of the cricketers of the year. So it's you try. It's been tough to keep it under wraps, but I look forward to the time when it comes out, so it's a bit more public knowledge.
How was the news broken to you? Did you have Lawrence Booth, the editor, get in touch?
Yeah, he got in touch with me and let me know, and yeah, no, it's like I say, it was a huge honour, and there's plenty of cricketers great cricketers who've gone down the line. So it's who've been in the same situation. So it's nice to follow some really good players' footsteps in that way.
Uh, by any standards, it's been an extraordinary first year and a bit of Test cricket for you. Obviously, you packed in 4 tours, played 2 home series, become the 3rd youngest player to hit a double century for England, and then through pretty much all of that, you've had a global pandemic, you've had biosecure bubbles, empty stadiums, huge amounts of uncertainty. It must feel like a huge amount has happened to you in a short space of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're having fun, time flies. So it feels like it's gone so quickly, to be honest. But I've absolutely loved every minute of it. It's something that I've wanted to be a part of. Playing for England since I was really young. So to have the last year and a half, and to get a couple of scores in there for England has been, don't need too many cliches, but it has been a dream come true. It's something that I've thought about my whole life, really. So it's now I've got a taste. I just want more and more of it.
I mean, you only turned 23 in early February, and you'd only had 2 full seasons in Kent's first team before making your debut. You'd been touted as a future England batsman for a few years now, but has it happened for you a bit quicker than you were expecting?
Yes, I think it has. I always had in my plan in my mind that I wanted to play for England, and I was trying to map it out in my head about what age, and it definitely came sooner than I thought. Didn't have the usual stats behind me that a lot of people need to pick for England, but you know, playing at Canterbury, and maybe they saw a bit of potential, and I was picked with those stats, and so in that regard, it happened a lot quicker than I thought it might, but I'm very thankful that it did.
Your coach at Kent, Matt Walker, said to me that when success comes so quickly to a young player, it can be dangerous, but that he had really no concerns for you on that front. But he said you're such a kind of level-headed character. But is it difficult to keep your feet on the ground when you play the kind of knocks that you did at the Ageas Bowl last summer, scoring 267 against the Pakistan attack in just your 8th Test match?
No, I think it was obviously a really high day for me, and the best day of my cricketing career by a long way, or best couple of days. But cricket's such a great game where it just levels you by itself. I've never at any point in my career felt too high. I mean, the next time I batted after that knock, I got naught, and that sums it up really. Playing for Kent, and I came back and I got naught, and so there's never a time in my whole career where I've got too high, and the main battle is trying not to get too low in the tough times. So I would, make sure when you have those days, like I did in the summer, that I really try and enjoy them, because there's plenty more low days than highs.
Going back to that knock last summer, I remember I was watching it with a few of the other members of the Wisden team from our office at the Oval. And right from the start of that innings, it just felt like every delivery was hitting the middle of your bat. I think you raced to 40 at about a run a ball. In fact, I remember one of the staff said he's almost going too well. When you're batting that well, it's hard to rein yourself in sometimes. But were you conscious from very early on in that innings that you were in really good touch and you kind of needed to make it count?
Yeah, absolutely. I did. Yeah, I felt in really good touch, and it was a very good wicket. And I knew, I hadn't scored a Test 100 at that point, and like you say, I got to 40 really quickly, and I almost got really nervous around that point. Actually, it was just before lunch, because I realised what a great opportunity it was to score my first Test 100. So I actually had a bit of a dodgy point there before lunch where Shaheen Afridi bowled well at me, and I played and missed a couple of times. But luckily, lunch came and I settled down a bit after lunch and managed to go on and get 100. But no, absolutely. It happened to me before in South Africa, where I felt in great touch in my first 50 at Johannesburg, and I got really nervous, thinking, this is a great opportunity. and got out there in the 60s. So it was nice to kick on this time, but it was definitely a massive thing for me, even early on in my innings, that I knew it was a great chance to score 100.
When you're playing a long innings like that, how do you stay focused? Are you consciously trying to switch off when you can, even just for a few seconds, or are you constantly in the zone thinking about what the bowler's doing, the field settings, the match situation?
Yeah, it's one of those things when you're on your own in your room trying to improve your mental game. You think about those things. But I find actually when you're in good touch, those things happen naturally. And on that day, I just seem to switch off naturally. And I think that's all confidence when you start thinking well about your game. And when you're not confident, when you start overthinking and overcomplicating the game. But really on that day, I felt in really good nick, and I didn't think about trying to bat a long period of time. I was just thinking about playing the next ball, and that's the best I've ever batted. I haven't really been able to do that too often in my career, and it's something that I'm still trying to chase, that kind of staying in the zone as much as possible. But that was one of those days where it just happened naturally for me.
I guess in county cricket, it's quite unusual to have that scenario. I mean, often the pitches aren't as good as what you'd have played on there. You're obviously playing 4-day cricket rather than 5-day cricket. I guess it's an opportunity in Test cricket that wouldn't necessarily have opened itself up to you too many times.
No, absolutely. You've probably got the chance to bat for a full 2 days if you want to, and if you're able to in Test cricket. Whereas in county cricket, you're at max, you're probably going to bat for a day and a half. So that probably takes away 50 overs or so. But you still a chance in county cricket to get big scores, as we see all the time. There's been a few triple hundreds down the line in there, and plenty of double hundreds. So it's definitely something that when I play for Kent, I want to start doing more of, is getting big hundreds, and because it makes the average look good then with all the noughts.
In that innings, you were batting with Jos Buttler for a long part of it, putting on more than 350 together. It was interesting to see yourself, the England Test rookie, taking the lead really, while Jos, who's obviously one of the best ball strikers in the world, was really happy to play second fiddle and just stay with you. Was that something the two of you discussed in the middle? Were you talking about the different roles, or did that kind of just naturally fall into place?
No, I think that just naturally fell into place. I mean, it was great batting with Jos. He was such a level head for me, and as I mentioned earlier, I was nervous coming up to my 100 all throughout this, which I'd never experienced before, being that nervous. I've never been person to get too nervous about getting 100, but in that occasion, I was extremely nervous. So it's great to have him alongside, and I think it was just one of those things where as I got higher, longer and longer into my innings, I kind of you lose that fear of getting out. So I think I was a bit further down the line with Jos when we were batting together, and so I was kind of I suppose I was playing a few more shots, whereas Jos was still in that space where I was probably before he came in, where I was still trying to build. So I think that's what happened there. But he batted unbelievably that day as well, and he made it very easy for me that I didn't feel any pressure on my end, because even like you say, I might have been scoring a bit more freely, but he still wasn't scoring slowly, and he was he was great to bat with that day.
Who was the first person you spoke to after that innings outside of the team bubble? Who did you call? Can you remember?
Yeah, I called my parents actually. Yeah, they're at the home, and they had to be the first people to call. They deserved the first call for all the support they've given me. So yeah, it was definitely them.
I hope they managed to watch the whole thing, keep their diary clear for a day and a half. It turned out they had to in the end.
Yeah, I think they watched every ball. So they enjoy watching me play anyway. So I think whether I'd have got or what I got, they would tend to watch every ball anyway. So it was great that they could watch it. It's probably a better view on television than they would have got at the ground, to be honest. So obviously it'd been nice for them to be there in person and to have people at the ground, but they probably got a better view of it in the
end. It's been talked about before. You're a rarity in that you're not on social media, and you've said you don't have any plans to change that anytime soon. It's not something that hugely appeals to you. I wondered then how the idea of fame sits with you. Are you comfortable with the idea of becoming famous, of people recognising you, approaching you in the street?
That's an interesting question. I suppose it's part and parcel of being if you got to that stage where I see Ben Stokes walking around and he gets recognised all the time, and people ask him for photos, and I think I remember when I was young and I saw famous people who were famous, and I really wanted to see them, and it gave me inspiration to see them in person. You know what I mean? So it'd be absolutely. I think it'd be if I ever got to that stage where I was well known in public, where I would like to think that if young people saw me, that I could inspire them a bit. So if I ever got to that stage, yeah, I think I'd enjoy that. But yeah, no, it's a tough question for me, that, to be honest, because I can't really picture myself as being famous, so I don't really know how I'd sit with it. But yeah, I'd like to think that the people I see around the group who are well known deal with it really well. So I've got some good people to look up to there and try and follow in their footsteps.
It's interesting because you're in India at the moment, where obviously cricket is on a whole nother level. Someone like Rishabh Pant, who's almost exactly the same age as you, he's got 2 million followers on Twitter and more than 4 million on Instagram. I mean, it's like a different world, isn't it? But I mean, how would you feel about that kind of level of interest and scrutiny? And are you kind of full of admiration for the way they manage it? It just seems like a different life being a cricketer in India.
No, absolutely. They are like footballers in England or movie stars in America. They're absolutely the pinnacle of this country. They're absolutely loved, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And as Billie Jean King once said, "Pressure's a privilege." So I suppose they embrace it, and they're certainly unbelievable. Unbelievable cricketers, and they in this country they're absolutely loved. So I'm quite a private person, so I'd like to think I am anyway. But so I haven't really, I wouldn't really know what it would be like to have 2 million followers. But I think they deal with it pretty well, to be fair to them over here.
One surefire way of boosting your profile, whether you want to or not, is playing in the IPL. You've already got a T20 under your belt, and you've got a strong record in that format. Is playing in the IPL or other T20 leagues around the world, is that on your checklist in the future?
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to play in all those franchise tournaments. So that's definitely a big goal of mine.
Any idea on a kind of time frame? Have you kind of put that on the back burner because you're just breaking through in the test side, or is that something that the opportunities just haven't kind of necessarily shown themselves quite yet?
Yeah, I think the latter one. I wouldn't want to put a time frame on it, because the way the T20 works, if I played in the 100 this year and got a few great knocks, you don't want to put a time frame on it. So, I'm just going to try and, obviously at the moment I'm concentrating on Test cricket, but when I get a chance, the good thing about the schedule at the moment is they're all in blocks. So when it's Test cricket, and then county cricket, and then there's a bit of T20 block in the English summer now. So I'm going to use that block in the summer there to really expand my game and try to become a really good T20 player. And hopefully get a couple of scores, and then you might start off at a couple of tournaments, then the IPL first, and then down the line you find yourself playing in the IPL, and that would be the absolute dream. So like I say, I'm concentrating on Test cricket obviously at the moment, but the way the schedule works is I have a good chance to improve as a T20 player when the block comes around.
Is it something you talk about with your Kent teammates? I mean, Sam Billings has been part of the IPL for a number of years and is one of the most experienced English cricketers in those overseas T20 leagues. He always raves about the positive influence they've had on his game. Is that a conversation you have with him? And Joe Denley, I guess, is another one.
Absolutely, I talk about it all the time, and people who played IPL in this team, and they rave about it, to be honest. Playing with best players in the world, watching how they go about it, learning new tricks, learning new ways to practice. It can only make you a better player, and it's just great fun as well. That's why we play the game, to play in these tournaments. And like you say, cricket over here in the IPL is, you're going to play in front of 100,000 people at a couple of grounds, which is just incredible when you think about it. So it definitely spurs you on to want to play in it, for sure.
And it all being well with your test spot for the foreseeable, you might not get that many opportunities to play for Kent in white ball cricket. So I guess that makes this avenue of T20 leagues overseas potentially even more important. It might be your best chance of showing Owen Morgan and the white ball setup that you're ready to step up to England's limited oversides.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know what the future holds white ball wise. So it's all a bit up in the air now with COVID. So whatever opportunities I get to play white ball cricket, I'm going to try and do my best, because obviously I'd love to play white ball cricket for England, and the avenues into the side might be a bit different than they have been done in the past. So I'm going to be quite open-minded about how to do that. It might involve playing in a few tournaments down the line, or it could be it could turn around and be playing for Kent. So I think with the schedule the way it is, I might still play a bit of T20 for Kent, but I'm not certain on that. So we'll have to see. But I mean, the 50 over cricket seems to have been, there's a good chance I might never play 50 over cricket, domestic 50 over cricket again. If all things being well for England and the 100. So it's going to be interesting to see how you work your way into that side.
I'm going back to your test career so far. You had quite a long break after that Pakistan series, and then faced a very different challenge of playing in Sri Lanka in their own backyard on pitches that were spinning from the first session. You didn't manage to get a score in that series, but how much did you learn across the course of those two matches?
Yeah, I learned a lot, and it's it was probably the toughest series I've had so far, and it was good to experience it. The scrutiny you're under, and the pressure you're put on to change a few things and do this and do that, and actually it's cemented my opinion that you just have to trust yourself and trust the people around you who have their best interests at heart. Everyone's going to have their opinion at this level, because obviously there's such high scrutiny, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it's being strong with yourself. And there's going to be, in my mind, there's only a couple of opinions that matters, me and the close people around me, and I think that's important that I try and stick to that.
It's very rare as a top order batsman at England to be facing spin from the very first delivery like you were in that series, and even if you do, the pitches aren't going to be offering the same amount of turn. How difficult is it to then experience that scenario in Test cricket for the first time?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but it was something that I'd planned in my head since the end of the Pakistan series, since August. So it wasn't that alien to me. I knew it was going to happen, and I've been practicing it in the nets all the time, and I've been practicing really well in the nets, and I felt my game against spin was sharp, and I felt in great touch in that first knock, and unfortunately mis-executed a strong shot of mine and got 9. And from there on in, the second innings, it was ragging square, and I could have been out 4 or 5 times. It was just pot luck, really. And then in the last game, I felt like I got 2 pretty decent balls, and that was my tour. Yeah. All seemed to happen very quickly, really. So it's one of those things where it just didn't go my way. But I wouldn't have changed anything about the way I prepared for it, and I prepared mentally for that to take place with the opening with the spin. So it wasn't like it caught me by surprise or anything. It just didn't turn out for me.
And on that first dismissal, I mean, you got caught trying to hit over the top, but as you say, that was a mis-execution. You would be happy to play that shot again in the same circumstance. You'd just back yourself to pull it off. You weren't disappointed with the stroke itself.
Initially, I was, and this is what I was mentioning earlier about staying strong with yourself. Initially, I was out and I was annoyed with myself and didn't think I needed to do it, and that lasted for probably a couple of days, and then it sunk in. I thought, I've played that shot so many times and played it well. It shouldn't change just because I mis-executed one shot that I'm suddenly going to go into my shell. So and I felt like I did a little bit after I mis-executed that. So I feel like I should have played it a little bit differently. In England, I tried to chip it, and I would just chip it over the infield. But on those slower wickets in Sri Lanka, I should have tried to hit it a bit harder, tried to hit it for 6, and then the miss hit would have gone over. But that's one of the good things I learned there. And next time I get that opportunity, I'll play it like that instead. And it's all a great learning experience. And next time I go out there, I'll be much better equipped to play it.
You had Jack Callis on hand as batting coach in Sri Lanka, and you've got Jonathan Trott with you now in India. Obviously, there's a lot of wisdom to share from those guys. But is there any better tutorial than watching how Joe Root has played the spinners so far this winter?
No, it's been unbelievable. I mean, he's just, like you said, just to watch him in the nets and watch him play, it's remarkable. And he's just shown what a great player he is. I mean, he's just shown the gap he has between so many people who, like in world cricket, where he's just that good player of spin. His sweeping, his footwork, and getting off strike is just it's just phenomenal. And I honestly believe he's the best player of spin in the world. And I might get a bit of stick from a few Indians for saying that, but I'll take it because I don't see, when he's on his day, I don't see how you can bowl to him. And we saw that in Sri Lanka and in the first test in India.
And when you see Joe batting like that, does it spread a bit of confidence around the camp? I mean, obviously he is an exceptional player of spin, but if he can make it look that easy, and we saw that, I thought, with Dom Sibley, your opening partner, who his dramatic improvement against spin across those two matches really stood out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely fills you a lot of confidence, and he's a great man to talk to about it. He's really open about how he plays spin, and so we can all learn from that. And like I say, it's just because he makes it look so easy. It feels like it's quite doable actually, but obviously it takes a lot more work. But I think you're right. I think the ease in which he does it, he feels a lot of confidence that people from England can be that great player of spin that we've seen. And like I say, he's from England and growing up on seaming wickets, but I think he's the best player of spin in the world.
And Joe's obviously, he's very experienced in subcontinental conditions. I mean, he debuted in India almost a decade ago now. Is there a sense that for a young batsman like yourself, those are skills are something that you just have to learn on the job? County cricket doesn't really equip you particularly against spin. So therefore, when you're playing Test cricket, you have to learn as you go.
Yeah, to some extent, for sure. I mean, you're never really going to quite replicate what I've experienced over here with the turning wickets. So absolutely, you've got to learn on the job. And Joe did say that actually in a few team talks and a few chats with me. And you just got to almost accept that. And obviously, you want success straight away, and that's part and parcel of wanting to do well and putting the work in. But you have to have a little patience for yourself. And like I said, I've learned an awful lot after one tour, and I think hopefully if I can be on a few more tours, I'll keep improving.
Looking a little bit further ahead, touch wood, and from past experience, we know things can change quickly, but things seem to be shaping up for hopefully a more normal cricketing summer in England. I wondered, having not had a home England summer yourself in Test cricket yet, what are you most looking forward to if we can have something resembling a normal summer?
Well, it's a great question. Just living, really. Just going out, having the choice to go out and have a coffee, or go and meet some friends, or you don't realise before this before the virus hit us that you don't realise how good how much you enjoy the little things in life, and taking for granted a little bit, like seeing people and having fun with your friends and that, and just going out and doing stuff. And I just can't wait for all that to come back again. And I'm not going to have too many nights in, that's for sure. I'm going to make the most of it.
And it'll be nice to walk out in front of a packed house in a ground at England, which you haven't had that experience yet as a Test cricketer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I'd love to play a home Test in front of in front of an English crowd, and them obviously all supporting you, and like I said earlier, that'd be an absolute dream come true. So, like play at Lords or the Oval or something like that, and that would just be absolutely brilliant.
All right, Zak. Well, best of luck for the rest of the tour in India. I hope it all goes well, and congratulations again on winning an award as one of Wisden's Cricketers of the Year.
Thank you very much, Joe.